All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the next video on the climate. Let's get started on this next video. So there are going to be different climates that we go through and talk about, and this is going to have an effect on the ecosystems that organisms live in. And if we're thinking about biomes here, well, what is going to determine biomes? Let's review weather and climate and the differences between the two. So when we talk about the weather, we're talking about the short term, the day-to-day forecast. So things like it's going to be a rainy or a snowy day. All right, the climate is what is the long term, year after year. So when we're thinking about climates and biomes, we're thinking about Arctic temperatures, tropical temperatures, and we can make predictions based on where these environments are as to how warm or cold they're going to be throughout the year. So the climate is going to have an effect on these biomes. Now, there are going to be a variety of different biomes that we're going to go through and talk about. We have a tundra, a taiga, deciduous forest, a rainforest, grasslands, deserts, and mountains here. And all of these biomes here are going to have different climates. And when we're talking about each of these biomes, there's going to be different plants and animals within each of them that have evolved and adapted to those specific environments. Now, what we can look at here is we can look at climatographs, and this is going to go through and it's going to represent the temperatures in degrees Celsius, and then we can also look at the precipitation for those environments. So here, this red line here, this is the temperature, and then these bars here represent the precipitation. Now, at the bottom, we have the month, and then up at the top here, we have average precipitation, and then temperatures moving along this axis here. We can see that when we hit June and July, the temperature increases and the rain decreases based on these bars. If we look at this climatograph here, we can see that there's not as much rainfall. The rainfall is a little bit more consistent throughout the year, but again, we see that large spike in January through August in temperature. It's because this environment here, or this biome, is in the northern hemisphere. Now, the greenhouse effect, well, this is what keeps the Earth warm, making it possible for life to survive. So potentially climate disruption, like releasing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, can trap more of this light. The way that this works is the sun is going to go through and project light that's going to hit the surface of the Earth. Now, some of that's going to be absorbed by the surface of the Earth, and then some of it's going to get reflected back. Well, certain greenhouse gases are going to go through and reflect that light continually. Instead of it being emitted back into space, it's going to continue to bounce off of our atmosphere, and then that's going to increase the temperature of the surface and the air around the Earth. Now, the greenhouse effect is important. It's not all bad. Without the greenhouse effect, what we would get is a snowball Earth, and we would enter into the Ice Age. And greenhouse gases are important, but it is the quantity of those greenhouse gases that we need to make sure that we regulate and monitor. But without the greenhouse gases, our Earth would just be one giant cold snowball, which would not support life.